and the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders, baby. Let's get it on. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us on this lovely Monday evening, a cold Monday evening on the East Coast. I don't know if you guys are feeling that out there as well, but we have a big game tonight, 8 p.m. kickoff with 8:15 kickoff with the Eagles and the Commanders. Before we get there, though, let me introduce my co-host, Wole from the Urban Sports Scene, Empire Media, and Fox Sports 1340 AM. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Like you said, it's cold, but I'm getting used to it. I like cold weather. I naturally like cold weather. I just gotta get my body right. So I'm
Hoodie
there.
season
I'm
for
almost
sure.
it's hoodie season. You know it. You know it, George. We there.
Exactly right. I feel you, bro. I'm right there with you, bro. I'm also my boy Adam Aniba from the Burgundy and Gold Report. He has weekly articles for the Commanders, his own YouTube channel, and he does small school scouting for college scouts. How you doing today, Adam?
Good, man. Good. Look forward to being on.
Hell yeah, man. Good stuff. So before we dive into it, man, there's a lot to talk about. So obviously we have a big key matchup with the NFC East with the Philadelphia Eagles today. But man, dude, I just want to kind of get it out there. The NFL was on fire this week, man. I had so much fun watching football this week. And I just want to put it out there, just kind of get a little conversation going. Like the Buffalo Minnesota game, Wale, was that the game of the year in your opinion? How do you feel about that, bro?
Definitely game of the year so far. A lot of storylines, a lot of like good play, amazing plays. To be honest with you, I mean, we're going to talk about that Justin Jefferson catch for years to come. We got comparisons already to another LSU alum and OBJ, but in terms of the clutchness of that catch, that might have been the best catch I've ever seen. You add in the degree of the degree of difficulty, and also a 4th and 18. You got to make a play, and and that corner has that pick lined up, and you snag it with one arm. That was all will. Like that wasn't just a great catch. That was all will. Like you wanted to make a play for your team. To me, that's one of the best plays I've ever seen. Period. So when you look at a play like that type of football, to me, yeah, that's probably the best game of the season.
Whew, man, it's crazy. So Justin Jefferson's going off right now. So it's funny. I've always been more of a Cooper Kupp kind of guy. And Justin Jefferson kind of has a high production every single time. But, so Adam, what's your takeaway, though, man? Justin Jefferson the best in the game right now? What do you think about this?
I'm not sure about best. It's just spectacular. I think really if he can just stay healthy and have a decent quarterback, like kind of quarterback, if he can at least have that, man, the sky's the limit for him because I think so early in his career, the way he's running routes, the way he moves, the way he breaks in and out, man, it's veteran. And you throw in that acrobatic catch. It's not just the catch. It's like he took it away from the guy who had two hands on it. So Jefferson, he might be the best, but I think he has the ceiling to be the best in the entire league.
It's just so crazy, right? Because, we come from Kirk Cousins. We saw him grow. We saw him kind of come from a very conservative running back that would only throw the ball when the wide receiver is wide open to trusting Justin Jefferson 100% and throwing on the ball in contested coverage. So that's definitely interesting in my opinion. Shout out to Hawk in the chat. What's up, brother? Happy, hope you enjoyed the game today too. Let's talk about this. I want to kind of pull up some of the other games of the week. So let me see. There's some big games. The Buffalo Minnesota game. We basically had the Giants got another win. They're out now 7-2. That's pretty crazy over there. What's up, Kyle? I see you in the chat as well. What are some of the big takeaways? So watching the game. So Wally, what were some of the stories that you noticed? What are some of the big takeaways from we got Chicago, Detroit, got a bunch of other games going on.
I know. NFC East fans are going to hate me for saying this, but man, Saquon back, man. Saquon back. Like Saquon's amazing, man. Like this is the issue I have when people talk about Chase got to play and this, that, and the other. When you blow your knee out, you don't get your explosion until like year 2. You saw Saquon last year. If you ever watched like a podcast show like The Pivot with Ryan Clark, Fred Taylor,
check that out.
Yeah, Fred Taylor, and also Channing Crowder, Saquon was on there, and you could tell that his ego took a hit last year because people were like trying to basically get him out of New York, saying he's done this, that, and the other. And it's amazing what that second year will do for you, after an ACL injury like that. And you see like this same Saquon, to me, the best back in football. Like I'll say it, like, to me, I've said this when I saw him in Penn State, whatever. To me, when healthy, he's the best back in football just because of what he can do all on that football field as a running back, running between the tackles, the explosion to get the home run play, the physicality because he's a big boy too at the same time. Like he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He is so dynamic, and just knowing that all you got to do is stop one person, like the Giants have no real true weapons on the outside in terms of skill position.
It's
and
true.
You have to stop him, and you can't stop him. That is impressive to me. It reminds me of just growing up watching Barry Sanders, knowing that they had Herman Moore. They had like a great wide receiver, Herman Moore, but you knew what the game plan was, and you still couldn't stop him. And this is the same thing with Saquon. Like, you know what the game plan is, and you still can't stop him.
Gotcha, man. Before I throw it over to you, Adam, my big takeaway from Week 10 is the rise of Justin Fields, man. It's just unbelievable to me, right?
Yeah,
so I never saw that coming. So, I actually was a big fan of Justin Fields coming out of the draft. I wanted him in Washington. I thought he had the upside. I thought he was achievable, that we could actually get him. But then after watching him play for the first couple of weeks, I was like, man, like, maybe that whole like Ohio State, stigma of like not knowing an offense and being able to progress through the offense is true. Like maybe he isn't a great passer, and he isn't actually there yet. And I think, we watched it in that Washington game where basically, he couldn't even get past his first read, but now he's on fire, and it's actually unbelievable. He's probably the number one player in fantasy right now. Looking at his last 4 games, he had 178 rushing in Week 9 against Miami Dolphins. That's ridiculous. That's also for a running back. We have a quarterback that's doing that. You see that against in Detroit, 147 yards rushing, and he has 5 rushing touchdowns over his last 4 games. So my big takeaway is just how great Justin Fields has developed and basically where he came from. So that's something that's impressive to me. Adam, what's up with you? What's your takeaway from Week 10?
Kansas City. 2 receivers go down. Tony, he's looking like an all-star out there, but it just shows you right now that I think Kansas City, they find in other positions that are going to get them there. I think, they're in the Super Bowl to me. I think as long as they can stay healthy on that offensive line and keep pieces on defense, really good team right there. So my takeaway was just like, no matter who he's throwing the ball to, they're making plays. Anybody who said he was a bust or he was done, it's what it is. There's a lot of impatience, and
Agreed.
You see it with Chase Young. You see, Pat. I still can't believe people. And now with Allen losing this game to Minnesota, I heard it like, well, he's no Pat Mahomes. No, Allen is going to be one of the best for years to come. So it just shows you the level of intelligence when it comes to people that are saying that. But these games were awesome, and the Giants, fool's gold. I don't know the coaching right now, fool's gold, but they're putting enough together for make one of the wild card spots. But
100%. 100%. I agree with that. They're definitely going to make the playoffs. The coaching's fantastic. I think we talked about it in our last podcast. Yeah. It's like, I think they're a year ahead of schedule. I think they were going to get there with Dabo and with Shane, with the whole GM and that whole like Buffalo South model they were going to go for. But the fact that, they are ahead of schedule, they're 7-2. And it just goes to show that good coaching can get you like, and either have you win close games or lose close games. And we're kind of seeing that in Washington now. Before we pivot to our actual game, Wole, last question, bro. So, Eagles are 8-0. The Buffalo got knocked off. The Vikings are 8-1. Who's the best team in the NFL in your opinion? What are you thinking, bro? I have to put you on the spot.
Kansas City. Kansas City, the best team, overall team. I think they got the best quarterback in the league, and Pat Mahomes. You see what he can do. A lot of people thought that he would struggle without Tyreek Hill. He still has this team balling. Their defense is good enough to win football games with. To me, they're the best team in football right now. I know the Eagles are undefeated, and then they want their flowers, and they're a great team. But you still got to be. To me, I want to see the Eagles tested a little bit more. They still got to get tested, and they haven't played. I mean, they beat the Vikings, which that's a good win. We see what the Vikings team can do. But if you want to see them against people that we state as Super Bowl contenders, right?
Yeah.
So and when they play the Buffalo Bills, I mean, if they get a chance to play, they don't have Buffalo, but they play Buffalo, they play Kansas City, teams like that, then we can gauge on how good the Eagles team is. But to me, yeah, I'm gonna say the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in football right now.
Adam, you feel the same way?
Well, I was on a few Eagles podcasts this week, and basically, these guys were about them. They know that like one injury at a key position can totally do a good team, but the smart fans know they're not a great team. They will be though with these drafts. They're going to pick in the top 5 likely, so they know that is really tonight. This is a huge game for them, and they're calling it a trap game. So
really,
we'll see what happens. But Philadelphia fans are calling this a trap game tonight. So we'll see what I think. That, I put out an article about Dotson. Have their starting slot out. They could take.
I mean, that's true. I saw that, and actually, that's a great segue, Adam. I was actually that'll be my question of the day anyway, right? So obviously, 8-0, right? Big game for Washington, undefeated. The one thing I was actually on the Eagles podcast earlier this week as well. I brought up in 2020, the Steelers were 11-0. We knocked them off and knocked them on their pedestal. We broke the Steelers after they started to fall apart after that L. Wole, I threw it to you. What would a win mean for Washington? We're not talking about feasible.
Oh, mean. Okay, that's cool. That's better. Okay, we'll go that route.
Yeah.
Oh man, it'd be big. It would be big. It would be similar to that Pittsburgh Steelers game because a lot of people have Washington winning that game in 2020. Helped propel them to the postseason, right? So a lot of teams didn't feel like they were going to win that game. So I mean, there's some similar things. I think I would say that Steelers offense was a little bit, was struggling to a certain extent. This offense, the Eagles, they are a well-oiled machine in terms of how they schematically run the football with Jalen Hurts and how they get timely big plays out of A.J. Brown. But it would be big. Like I will be on, it would be big. It would be big for Coach Rivera. It would be big for Jack Del Rio because to me, if they win this football game, it's more on Del Rio and his unit. It just says that we have arrived. We are a dominant defense because this Eagles offense is hard to contain because of what they do in terms of the run game and how they utilize Jalen Hurts in the run game. So to me, if they do shut down this Eagles offense, if they win, to me, they would shut down the Eagles offense. I think it would be it would kind of tell the league, all right, this defense is legit. Like it's legit to me, but it's legit in terms of one of the more dominant defenses in the NFL.
I think it definitely will change the trajectory of our season, right? So we're either going to be 5-5 and basically in the mix of the whole playoff. I believe if we win, we're either the 7th or the 8th seed already in the playoff spot. And then basically, if we lose, we're 4-6. We're kind of on the outside looking in. But it's definitely one of those confidence builders where we can basically, beat this game, then go to Houston right afterwards.
I don't talk playoffs. I already talk it, but go ahead.
That's good. I like it though. Good man. Good man. Take it day by day. Take it day by day. But what I was going to say though, what was impressive to me, what I find interesting, I think Logan Paulson, man, I love his football intelligence. I don't know if you guys actually follow him or read him. He's awesome, man. He actually was breaking down some X's and O's on some of these shows and audio that I've been listening to. And he talked about how the Eagles' offense has evolved over the past couple games. When we played the Eagles earlier in the season, they were more of like a deep shot kind of team where they would shoot at Devontae Smith and throw it to A.J. Brown and kind of create big. But now they're kind of pushing more towards like a RPO type of offense, more of an effective run type of offense. So it's going to be interesting if Washington play discipline and shut that down. And I love your vision of a championship caliber defense. I do like that perspective, Wale. Adam, what do you think, man? What would a win mean for Washington?
Like you said, 5-5. All being played around the league right now. There's a lot of losing records, so it makes a huge difference. But I'm glad you brought it up about their evolution of the offense. I was talking about that with the week that Washington, Holcomb's not playing, but this is an opportunity. I think Jamin Davis is going to see. I'd be surprised if he sees less than 80% of the snaps because Jalen Hurts most of the night. You're following that ball. That's your that's your key right there. To me, that's how they win this game. If literally you can bottle him up and just literally get a turnover or two, I think the offense can do enough with what they have to win. But man, Jason Cameron Curl didn't play the first game. That's what we got to remember. Curl has been
that's true. It's a good point.
Those two right there. We talk about the obvious with the defensive front. I think we're going to see a lot tonight because I think they're going to pressure him. But what I was surprised about is I was talking about Philadelphia staff. Philly fans maintain no matter who they play, they're not stacking the box. They're trusting their even 4 and 5, just like Washington runs. But that's an opportunity to run the ball. So I do. I think I agree with that. Then mix it up with the run game. I like to see AG and Robinson at the same. Either guy can catch it out of the back and run routes. So, I think tonight they're right for Washington, but I don't have winning. I feel like this is Lincoln Financial Field with all the Philadelphia fans, but I think everything has to go right for them tonight. But be surprised if you see Sam Howell tonight, because I think that if they start to get their hands on, he could go out fast, because these guys, they don't just hit, they hit. So I wrote that Howell's closer than some might seem, because everyone's like, no, give him time, but you're a quarterback too. You don't have ready, so we'll see.
I agree. That's actually a very interesting perspective. You brought up some great points, right? So for one, I would love to see Jamin Davis thrive. And, for those that have actually been watching game to game and play to play, the first big breakout play for Jamin Davis of the season was him when he was QB spying Jalen Hurts in an earlier matchup. He actually ran him down to the sideline and basically knocked him out, right? And that was actually awesome, because like, that was technically considered a sack. It was more of like a on the line of scrimmage kind of tackle, but it just showed you his explosiveness and his ability to track down the field. Having Holcomb out definitely has kind of erred on the side of creativity on defense, or having more 3 safety sets. Or like last I saw, basically Derek Forrest was playing more on the box. Cameron Curls he was calling the plays last game. He was basically being more of like the single high safety, kind of watching from the back over there. I'm gonna throw this to Wole. It's kind of a provocative, polarizing question.
I'm very polarized.
Right?
Go ahead.
So you love that. Okay, so Matt. So Jack Del Rio at the beginning of the year had a lot of heat, man. People were trying to get rid of him and saying that he's one of the worst coaches out there. Why isn't he fired yet? Is it time to give Jack Del Rio his flowers for putting this team around and kind of turning everything around?
Right, it is. I'll say it. Like, I'm not here to, like, you don't gotta be my best friend. I don't gotta believe in your views. I don't care about your views, to be honest with you. Don't do nothing for me. When we talking about football, we talking about football. It's about winning football games. I don't care if you're a nice person. I'm gonna be real with you. All that Ron Rivera is nice. I don't even care. That does nothing for me. I don't care if you.
It's not W's and L's, right?
You still under 500, so it don't do nothing for me. But when your unit, you got a unit balling, you give him his flowers. Like when he was playing like trash, he was trash. All right, he was part of that. You're trash. You know what I mean? You called out Jamin, but your unit was bad. It was trash. But now your unit is playing. It's balling. It's balling.
And now Wole, and just to kind of pause on that point, I'm gonna let you keep going off. He called out Jamin Davis. Jamin Davis got better,
right? Say, you know what? Maybe it worked. Maybe that's how he had to respond. Personally, I didn't like it, but that's how he had to reach his player. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going back. I'm not going to be like, well, he was still wrong about that. No, I'm going to be like, you know what? Maybe Jamin needed it. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. There's nothing wrong with saying that you were wrong. All right, people. There's nothing wrong with coming out and say, I was wrong about this. It's okay. You can say that. I was look. I was asking for Greg Williams.
Wole, I appreciate
look on my tweets. I was like, hey, Greg Williams, come back to DC. We need you. Look, now I'm like, hey, Jack, you got it, bro. You got it. I don't got no hashtag firing Del Rio. I'm not that person.
I gotta give him credit too. I gotta give him credit, honestly. I mean, for real, like considering where the defense was, especially during the preseason, I was really critical of them during the preseason. First couple games of the year, I was like, man, we're like a leaky faucet, giving up all these plays. All of a sudden, we started tightening it up. Adam, I saw you kind of like shake your head in disagreement. How do you feel about that, bro?
Quite distinct that they've improved despite him. I've watched back the last 3 games the past, and what I saw, it's the inside matchups. The 1-on-1s are being won. Deron Payne, John Allen. I looked at the couple games, and now they're playing more disciplined. Yeah, I give Del Rio credit for that, but I think he could be doing so much more with these guys. I think you can stunt every single one of the front 5. He doesn't do it. He does it like we see it, we get a good play, but then just like Turner, sometimes you're like, well, why another guy? Stunt him on the other side, because I think they've really got a lot out of James Smith-Williams, and run. But I think that he's doing enough now to get this team to the playoffs, but the thing they can to keep them losing. So I'm not against what Wole said. I just think that, and I think they have a couple years maybe with the unit that they have. So that position, because it's more about he's not a bad coach. He's just very outdated in his scheme and innovative these days. You have to be 2 steps ahead. So, I think that, they've released what matters. Scheme aside, they have to be responding to the coach, and they definitely are.
Gotcha. Yeah, so exactly right. There's always 2 elements with the human element and also the schematics of the whole calling of the plays. So that right now they believe in him, but maybe the scheme could be more developed and more advanced. I can see that. That's a good point. So speaking of scheme, speaking of strategy, Well, let's start off with you, bro. So, this is the tail of the tape right here. We have, it looks like a
Very
lopsided matchup right now. We have the third best team according to PFF against the 26th best team. It's a pretty defensive matchup over here. What does Washington need to do today or tonight actually to win the game? What would be your strategy
Time
if you
of
were the coach?
possession. I think it's important to hold the football and to play old school 90s football. I know people don't want to hear it. It's because it can work. The Eagle style can work for you if you're Washington. But if you're worried about, what your offense is going to do, they like to run the football. Okay. You do the same thing, run the football, but you run it better. You win that time of possession. You are cognitive of knowing that you want to win the time of possession. You win that limit turnover. That means winning the time of possession means you have to have more of a run-oriented style of football so you can limit the turnovers that we've seen with Taylor Heineke. Because I'm going to be honest with you, throw them 50-50 balls to Darius Slay and James Bradbury, they will get picked. These ain't getting dropped. They getting picked.
Yeah, they will.
Don't throw those same passes and thinking a referee's going to save you. It ain't going to happen.
They're arguably
so
the
I'm
best
just saying,
cornerback duo in the NFL. They
so
are.
you have to limit the Heineke being Heineke. So what you're going to have to do, run some RPO with him, utilize his feet. Utilize Gibson, utilize Robinson in the backfield, utilize Amari Rodgers, running, RPOs, have him, Samuel, and Gibson in the backfield together. That's intimidating for any defensive front because you're not going to know where that ball is going, with Samuel, with that speed and how he can run the football, and Gibson with his playmaker, his game-breaking ability as a running back, and also, what he can do on the outside. So there's so much you can do, and Amari Rodgers is a fast tight end. There's so much you can do. So much you can do, man.
But you guys are utilizing him more. Our
So much
tight ends, going from training camp, we heard so much about how the tight end rooms are one of the deepest and most dynamic groups of all the people on the team, right? We haven't really seen any of that come to fruition at all. Like, I know Cole Turner's been hurt, Logan Thomas has been out, but we should definitely use Amari Rodgers more. I definitely agree with that. One thing that stands out to me, you're talking about running the ball and definitely this kind of ball control offense. I think if you ask any casual Commanders fan, that would be our strategy, but it would definitely break tendencies for what we're doing right now. If you actually guys look at the chart right here, Washington only runs the ball in 36% of their plays, which is actually pretty crazy, right? Like I know we talked about it last time. They run the ball in 36% of their plays. They pass it on 64% of their plays. And it's just kind of interesting. I know, maybe you got skewed a little bit with Carson Wentz, but I don't know if that's I agree. I think we should definitely play keep away from the Eagles, but is that our true identity? I kind of trying to figure out what is Washington good at? What are we strong with? And I can't really put it together.
Ask Scott Turner, man.
I'm going to say, we talked about it last time. So what's Washington's identity? We want to say run the ball. If you ask anybody without looking at stats, what's Washington's identity? They say run the ball and play strong defense, but it's not showing there on the stats. So
the identity is to throw the football. That's the identity. It's just not. It's because that's the coordinator's identity. That's what he wants to do. It's not the strength of the team, but it's the strength of it's what the coordinator wants. The coordinator wants to do. So that's the identity. The identity is to throw the football.
So identity.
You should be throwing the ball.
So in your opinion, our team is built to basically run the ball. Our team should be running the ball. However, Scott Turner's, his ideology, the way he rolls things out, is not the right way.
The identity should be able to throw the football, but the coordinator's mind of throwing the football is limited. Therefore, he should go back. He should go to run the football. The team is built to throw the football. Let me be fair to say that. They are built to throw the football with the skill, with Gibson, McKissick, and the 3-4 wide receivers that you do have. They're built to throw the football. That is the truth. And the line isn't great, but Joe Burrow has a bad line, so he makes it work. Yeah. So you're built to throw the football. The issue is that the offensive design, game planning, isn't within that OC, makes it difficult to throw the football. I don't know if Adam agrees with me.
Adam, what do you got, bro?
Yeah. I agree, and I think I said it last week. And I was really bumbling last week getting with my wife. That when you have an offensive line that's struggling for protection, running them the ball and getting them to set it up. And I feel like that's the only reason he wants to, because Turner just you see him bust out. If he had his way, he would probably throw 80% of the time. So I think he wants to have an identity. And although it's good, I think the personnel with this team is, although they have great receivers, I don't think they're there with that. So I think the best way you do it is, get Heineke moving. An offense, RPO. It'll work until Philadelphia stops it. And then after that, I just want to say, I think that's what you have with these receivers, yards after the catch potential. So I think you don't have, they cannot do that tonight. They're gonna lose if they do that. Everything, in my opinion, if they're gonna give you 10, 15, let your receivers get yards after contact, because I think that's the best way for them to win. And you were talking to me, setting the edge in Philadelphia. It's easier said than done, but I think if you were not on the outside, you're going to limit their runs, and then you have a quarterback that's short. And Shea, I know, but if you can keep Hurts virtually in the pocket, you can get a lot of tip pressure with the guys that they have. This is still one of the best defensive fronts that Philadelphia has faced all year than they were when they faced them the first time. So if you can effectively set the edge, I think Montez Sweat, I think he has the opportunity to chase him down every play. He's got the speed to catch Hurts. So it's not Hurts just faster is going to outrun everyone. If they have Jamin Davis keying him and they can set the edge with these guys, they got to keep him stationary. And again, it's easier said than done. I think that it'll be really hard. I think I'm with a really good game plan tonight. I think they're just going to really try to expose a lot of Washington's weakness. And, without William Jackson, I think their corners are still a weakness. St. Juste has played good, but I think that they bait him. That they can really bait him and to get penalties, and I think we'll definitely see that tonight.
That'll be interesting to see. I think Washington does match up pretty well. It's a shame that Chase Young won't be there tonight. We're kind of hoping for that this week, because I think Washington does have the athletes to kind of contain and kind of pressure Jalen Hurts, especially interior. We had Payne and Allen that can actually blow up the middle of the line, but Montez Sweat's a physical specimen. And I'm just waiting week to week for that one breakout game, and you never know. Maybe tonight's tonight. That sack fumble where he picks it up and scores a touchdown. It's like I can see Montez Sweat potentially doing that. Jamin Davis can match up against Hurts. Cameron Curl can do many things on the defense as well. So I do want to see our defense. Have we come a long way? Are we actually like ascending, or is it kind of a facade so far? I don't want to see that. We all know we've been watching Washington for such a long time. Like, we could look and feeling optimistic, feeling pretty good. Walking that Monday Night Football game, get smacked in the mouth. I don't want that to happen tonight. So
I know you're thinking about the Vic game. Everybody thinks about the Vic game.
That Vic game, I'll never forget.
That's
the Vic
everyone's
game.
thinking about is the Vic game. I know. I'm scared. I'm thinking about the Vic game too.
Let's talk about this. Is a fork for them. Like a lot of fans are like, well, they still have a chance after this. No, they don't. They'll drop another one in the East, go 0-3 in the division. They're not going to run the table, and that to me could do it. So I think that this is a huge game for them, not just to win, but for their morale. I think this coaching staff, whatever happens with the sale, they have now to return next year, no matter who the owner is. So I think this is a huge game for the players and staff.
So Adam's calling a code red game. I definitely see that for sure. So let's talk about this though. So we talked about the offense. We talked about Scott Turner. Washington has averaged 17.7 offensive points per game, which is one of the lowest in the league in an offensive driven league. So we kind of see that right there. The only 23 points was against the Pack. And I guess my question to you is, does it fall solely on Scott Turner? Or is it also Taylor Heineke's limitations as well? Because you see all the plays all week long, kind of see like these wide open wide receivers that are available, and then Taylor Heineke's throwing a bad interception. So, they want to start off with you, man. What do you think? Is it more Turner? Is it more Heineke? Or you can't really differentiate the two?
No, I can. I can differentiate the two easily. It's Turner. I think the only reason why I say it's Turner is because you know who you got. You know who your quarterback is. You had it for how many years now? I mean, you know who he is. He's followed you from everywhere, Minnesota to Carolina to here. Like, so you know what Taylor Heineke is. So you put him in situations where you think he could be successful. So that's what it is. I mean, yes, he has his limitations and he misses plays that he has drawn up correctly. That is fact. But at the end of the day, when it comes to putting a player where you know what his limitations are in a situation to do certain things they shouldn't be doing, then that's on you. Like I mentioned earlier, you shouldn't be with Taylor Heineke. You shouldn't be pass heavy. That's stupid. Like, I'm sorry. I'll use an example. The Jacksonville Jaguars who went to the AFC Championship game, they didn't have Blake Bortles throwing the football like 30 times. They were like, no, I'm gonna run TJ Yeldon and Fournette. That's who I'm gonna run. This is what I'm doing. I don't want to get into a shootout with with Blake Bortles. I don't want that. It's the same thing. Like you have, and this is worse than Blake Bortles. This is Taylor Heineke. Like no disrespect to a gutty player, but still, like you are who you are, and your physical limitations. You're not an accurate quarterback. You have this oh no moment when you throw the football. Like no one when he throws a pass, you can't trust it and say, "Oh, this pass is going to be true." Like you're not going to do that. So you know what you have. So run the footballs and play off of that. Limit the mistakes. Try to limit the mistakes that he could potentially make. This is all on Scott Turner. Like know your personnel. That's all I'm saying. Like we said this when we saw Carson. Like, dude, you're doing 7-step drops with Carson. Like, why? They can't block. Like, what are you doing here? Like,
Yeah.
so it's on you. Like, it's totally on him. Like, if he did what Adam was talking about, boot action, RPOs with them, Taylor would probably be better. I wouldn't be griping and saying that I want to see Sam Howell. Taylor would probably be a better quarterback. But no, this coordinator consistently tries to use him in situations that aren't advantageous to him. So it's on him.
Gotcha. That's a good perspective, and I know Adam kind of has some emotional ties to this. I want to hear how he feels. So Taylor Heineke, how do you feel about that? If he wins, does he solidify himself as a starter moving forward? Would you get rid? Would you essentially go back to Wentz? How do you feel about? I know you're a Sam Howell guy. What are you thinking, Adam?
I think if he can win you the gift, you can't go back to Wentz and you don't go back to Howell. You just keep it the way it is. Wentz to QB2. I don't think there's anything that's going to be able to stop that once he's healthy. But, we'll say, if you're not playing into their strengths, they can score 20 points a game. He gets 150 yards passing, another 65 yards rushing. That is enough, in my opinion. And it makes no sense not to run because it's not just, Gibson and Robinson. You've got to like to run. It mentioned Armani Rogers. That's another guy you can get to run. McKissick is out. Can get involved in that. I really do think Scott Turner's bored. I think he hates to run the ball because even when he runs the ball, there's no design to these plays. They're very predictable. Sometimes they're up there on the outside, and it's like, the defense is keen on this stuff. There's no mystery to what he's doing. He wants to be a passing team. He wants that to be their identity, but he doesn't get that franchise quarterback, which even with the win, Taylor's not that guy. He 4 wins this season to me solidifies him as a $10-15 million backup. He's making, think if he can pull string some, he's a solid, talk about Chase Daniel last in the league, as long as he keeps winning. We can talk about what he's done in the legend of Heineke, but he's got his strength to take another 4 or 5 wins max for him to be solidified as that kind of guy, but otherwise next year. So it's just, to me, it's a matter of time. None of these guys, and unless it's Howell, I just don't think they're good enough. But Turner has to get out of his own way tonight and be like just tough defense. And I think he gives up on the run too quick. I think if he gets a couple of 5 yards, he just gives up on it. So I think he has to be consistent with it because right now he is the main problem.
I don't know how he's related to North Turner. I'm trying to figure out how. I mean, I know he's his son, but how is he related? Like, have anybody?
He had an offensive line with the Cowboys. That's why. And he had Emmitt Smith, and he had all these other guys, Michael Irvin.
When Norv was here, like Norv would run the football. Like I'm trying to figure out how he's not. Norv was really into balance. Like that was his thing. He was really into balance. And I don't know how this kid is related to Norv. Like Norv like take deep shots. He loved taking deep shots, but it was more balance oriented. Like he loved running the football, and off of that, he would take deep shots. You got guys who can run the football and be physical, but this dude doesn't like to throw it. He really doesn't like running the football. Like he really, like 4th and 1, Norv would run. He would run that thing. Like he would run it. Now another argument would be like, well, Norv had in
Emmitt
Dallas,
Smith and Emmett Tomlinson.
Yeah, here he had Stephen Davis. At that time, Stephen Davis was a top back, and then and he had LaDainian Tomlinson. But Norv would still run the football. Like Norv would still run the football. Like, and that's my thing. When I look at Scott Turner, this is why he's an issue. Is that like plays like 4th and 1 and half a yard, your back just showed you that he can tough out to get you 2 yards, and then you decide to run a boot play action, try to fool folks. Norv wouldn't have done that. Norv would have ran the football. Like Norv would have ran it. He's just an interesting cat. Like I don't. He really is. He's an interesting dude, and I'm really like it bothers me because it just shows like nepotism annoys me,
It's the NFL,
and
man.
this is like a sure case of nepotism because
Mhm.
you've had an opportunity. Many people would love to be an offensive coordinator, and you have this opportunity, and for 2 years, right? Your offense has been bad, and not because of talent bad. Because I've seen, and I hate when people say, "Well, give them somebody," and I've seen offenses with limited talent still be able to move the football. Like
Mm.
that's why I give the Shanahan's a lot of credit. I mean, you may not like them, but they've had players, Mullins, who played for them or who
Yeah.
can move the football with the Niners. Even Charlie Beathard's son at times can move the football a little bit by little with that. And he's not a great quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, but they can move the football. When I look at this unit, when I look at Scott Turner, I'm like, bro, there's nothing that you do to me that says you're a good offensive coordinator.
Mm. Gotcha. So I guess another question. So yeah, definitely. I guess there's a lot of Scott Turner hate in the room.
Oh
I
yeah, I
can
got
see that.
hashtag Scott Turner, man. I'm that dude. I'm
I
the
can see
president
that for
of it.
sure.
I'm the president.
My question to you is this, though, right? So moving forward, like, how do you guys feel about our rushing attack, right? So obviously, like we talked about wanting to be a rushing team. Is Antonio Gibson being underutilized, or like, how do you feel about Brian Robinson now that we have a larger sample size of him? What do you guys think about that? And Adam, we can start off with you. What are you thinking, bro?
Yeah, I think you need to have more balance, like 4 or 5 consecutive with either back. I think you just continue to mix it up. Like running backs in the backfield at the same time, that just creates a lot of opportunities. So I think you just have in North. Scott Turner's just not patient with it at all.
Gotcha. What do you think of Wole?
Yeah, I think they're not utilizing Gibson enough. I think we all got to be we're honest in the situation. And I wanted Robinson to be the guy initially, but also Gibson's been the guy that has looked more effective. It's the truth. He has, so he has to be utilized more in the offense. I'm not saying that he has to be utilized more than Robinson, but he has to be utilized a lot more. He's dynamic right now, and he's holding the football. Right, that was our complaint.
That's
Like he
true.
wasn't
That's
holding the
good. True.
football. He's holding, and you can tell that he's learned because I've seen him like if it was like say last year if he's running on the outside, he would still keep the ball inside, which would be an easy ball easily to be stripped. Now he carries the ball to the outside, so to the outside where it's harder to get stripped. He's learned, and you can see it, and he's really paying attention to detail about protecting his football. So to me, he's doing that. I mean, obviously there's certain things that he's still trying to get better at in terms of just attacking the hole, but I feel like he has improved a lot as a running back, and the competition has been great for him. So I feel like he needs to be utilized more in the run game, definitely the passing game. I think you gotta
Yeah.
utilize him in the passing game. He's better than what I thought in the passing game. To be honest with you, like
He's
he's a
dynamic in
mismatch.
the open field. He actually had a
Yes,
great kickoff
man.
return last game, and then
Yeah,
I think the best game that he actually had, I believe, was the Packers, where they basically were like just like throwing him screens and out of the
yeah.
backfield is throwing the ball to him. We got to utilize him like almost like an Aaron
Everything,
Jones,
man.
like if they kind of focus on that
Yes,
regard,
even
him in the
more though,
outfield like that.
even more versatile in the passing game than Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is good, but he is amazing in the pass. What he can do in terms of on the side, he can catch balls on the sideline. Just the feet drag, toe swag. Like he could do a lot, man. Like he can do a lot. I feel like you get him against a linebacker because the mentality is automatically gonna think he's a running back, but he is a running back, but he has wide receiver skill. You get him automatically singled out against a linebacker. That's barbecue chicken. Like this dude needs to be used, man. Seriously, that's why
Yeah.
I get so annoyed with this coordinator. I'm like, you got this weapon that is just there, like that. If he played with Sean Payton and the Saints or somebody like
Okay.
this, guy would be
Oh
a
man, be
a
great.
household name. This dude would be like Kamara to a certain level. Like he is that gifted as a football player. So
No,
uh
I feel you. I feel you. I definitely feel a little bit frustrated as well. I was watching the Dolphins game a little bit earlier, yesterday,
hashtag to a
and it's
great. Go ahead.
yeah, it was Jeff Wilson, Mostert. They're kind of using them, just blowing up
Almost, yeah,
already
yeah.
off of 1 week. Why can't we do that
Mhm,
with our running backs? That's
mhm.
pretty interesting. So, let's talk about our passing attack. Basically, Curtis Samuel's been leading the league team with targets, which I kind of find surprising.
Yeah, I
Terry
don't really like
McLaurin's
that.
kind of rose to the occasion at 600 yards and 2 touchdowns so far. We have Jahan Dotson returning this week as well. Wale, how do you feel about our passing attack? What does Dotson bring to the table for us this week?
I think obviously the route running is needed, especially in the red zone. So I think he's gonna be, he's gonna be a player they can utilize in the red zone because he's a wizard, an artist with the route running. So I think that's going to be needed, especially with Taylor Heineke, where he can kind of attack the intermediate routes with Jahan Dotson. So I think it works perfectly fine. I do think in terms of our overall passing game, I would like to see, not to say you have to scheme things up in terms of play design, like a Kevin O'Connell, how to use Jefferson or Sean McVay, but I would like to use Scary everywhere. And what I mean by that is have him go to places where he doesn't have to see cornerback one, cornerback two. Like you see how the Vikings will they put Jefferson in any situation where he has an advantageous situation where he can win that matchup. It's easy to win a matchup. I just want to see Scary utilize it everywhere. Like you and key on that. Because like we talk about Curtis Samuel being the man getting so many targets. Well, if Curtis Samuel's getting a lot of targets out the slot, darn it, switch that. Put Scary in the slot and let's see Scary do it. Because you can get more dynamic to me. And Curtis Samuels is dynamic, but in terms of a route runner out of that situation getting open, Terry understands the route tree better than Curtis Samuel. It's not a knock on Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel's a dynamic playmaker, but in terms of in that situation against a DB in zone or whatever, Terry is more dynamic, knowing the route tree. So I would like to have Terry in that situation, other than Curtis Samuel. Not to say Curtis Samuel couldn't eat there, but I would if I see that, oh man, Curtis is got a good ideal situation here. Oh, the cornerback isn't following Terry. Oh, okay, Terry, you're gonna be. Let me swap you out with Curtis and put you there, and let's see what kind of plays we can get out of you. You know what I mean? I want to see stuff like that for Terry McLaurin.
I agree. I'm actually really happy with Curtis Samuel and the way he developed over the year. He actually is kind of doing better than I thought he was going to do. I was kind of worried to be injured again, but he's been dynamic in the run game, he's dynamic in the catching game as well. But I do think Terry McLaurin is our wide receiver one by far. Having Taylor Heineke, the one positive about him being our quarterback, is force feeding Terry McLaurin. Like I don't know if you guys remember earlier in the year, there was like halves that basically Terry McLaurin wasn't even getting a target in the first half of the game because of Carson Wentz, which I found pretty interesting. But now we're force feeding Terry McLaurin. He's getting these contested catches. He's converting these big plays. So it's nice to kind of see him kind of rise to the occasion. The one thing that frustrates me about McLaurin, and I know it's just a victim of being in the system, is his touchdown usage. I want to see that big bump in touchdowns. He always gets about 2, 3, 4, 5 a year. I want him to break 10 or 11. I want him to kind of get to that point, and maybe that starts tonight. So we'll see how that goes. But Adam, what are your thoughts on all the whole passing game? You can kind of dive into the running back game if you want to go, and just targets in general. Like, how do you feel about the whole distribution? Dotson coming back.
I agree 100%. I think you just got to get Terry in motion a lot tonight. I think if they're going to put some slays, but like I said earlier, Maddox, they're starting slot. He's been really good this year, really productive. They learned about how much of a loss because Josiah Scott that's replaced him tonight, he's just a shade under 5. This is his 3rd career start. So you're going to have him matching either Terry McLaurin if you're not going to be Dotson Samuel. So I think, as important it is to establish the run, you have to take it there. And to me, that's what they have to attack tonight. And people talking about, with Dotson, is he going to be on a snap? I don't know. You can't be nervous about that. I think you got to get him out there as much as possible. Cam Sims and, Milne getting some touchdowns. I want to see the trio in there. I think those are the guys' opportunity to win. And Dotson, the most important thing is in the red zone, because that's what he's shown, 4 touches. But that's the particular matchup that you got to get going. But Terry McLaurin, if you can't get him going, I'm just doing enough to beat Philadelphia. Terry McLaurin has to be the key for them.
I agree. I definitely agree. All right. So one thing that kind of popped in my head before we kind of focus on the game one last time, we talked about the defensive line, how vital they are to the team. Deron Payne's having a fantastic year this year, man. He's standing out a lot. And, Montez Sweat's contract's looming around the corner too. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think would you resign one over the other? Or is there someone that would you try to retain both? How do you feel about that? Well, they would start off with you.
I'm trying to get both. And the way I would do it is I would play Sam Howell now. This is what I would do. I'll play Sam Howell and then see if he can be the quarterback, and then I can sign both because he's on the rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
That means I can sign both of them. So I would try to sign both, like, to be honest with you. I think, to me, you're not in a situation. This is my thing. You're not in a situation to let talent walk out this building.
Yeah.
You're just not at that. You're just not at that point. I know everybody's like, well, you're going to choose one or the other. That's what good franchises do. good franchises do that when they're winning. That's the problem. They do that when they're winning. Like when the Niners had to get rid of somebody, it's because the Niners were getting to the Super Bowl. They got to the Super Bowl and they got to NFC Championship game. So they were good enough where they could let the kid that's now plays for the Colts. What's his name? I'm
gonna say one more time.
The kid that plays for the Colts used to play for the
Buckner?
Niners. Yes, it's
DeForest Buckner. Right? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Bucks. They had to let him go because they couldn't keep all of them.
Yeah,
but they were a successful football team. You know what I mean? They were a good football team. So
Mm-hmm.
now, like for Washington, you're not a good football team. You're not. So you can't let players walk out this building when you haven't established anything yet. You haven't established anything yet for you to say, "Oh, we can let Martez Sweat go. Oh, we can let Deron Payne go." No, you're gonna be worse. So it gets to a point where what are you trying to build? Like, so to me, give yourself an opportunity to build something strong. Play Sam Howell. See if he could pan out and be a good NFL starting quarterback or quality NFL starting quarterback. You just gave yourself a rope to now sign the players that you're scared to not you think that you're not going to be able to keep.
I think that's a good point, too. Well, I was actually thinking the same thing. I think the decision about letting Deron Payne and Montez Sweat walk, I think it does play into affecting your quarterback decision as well, right? Like, obviously, what I'm trying to see downfield vision, I think getting a rookie quarterback is paramount, right? You kind of have to sign Taylor Heineke. One of these guys that needs to be on our team next year, either Carson Wentz or Taylor Heineke. I'm not saying I want either one of them on the team, but you need two quarterbacks in the room, right? So who's it going to be? Is it going to be a discounted Carson Wentz where you kind of negotiate and bring the contract down, or do you let him go, or do you have to re-sign Taylor Heineke for about $10-12 million as Adam alluded to? So there's going to be some money invested in there, but hopefully we can kind of be smart and kind of work our way around that to kind of put it together and keep the players. I do think that Deron Payne is a special talent. I don't think we should let him hit the market. I think if he hits the market, he's gone. I think I'm not like think about all those things swirling around Washington and all the things that are going on. We can't offer top dollar, which is going to be the winning factor in this whole matter right here. So I think that's when we need to kind of like get ahead of it and kind of show good faith and offer him a contract now is what I'm going with. So that's where I'm at. Adam, before we ask you about Payne, we got a question in the chat. I want you to answer first, if you don't mind. So Jeep Trat, thank you for hitting up with the chat.
Man,
he says, "What's up, George?" He said, "Can Dotson getting back in the lineup enhance Heineke because he's such an elite route runner, or is a lack of arm strength too much to overcome?" What do you think, Adam?
Again, I don't think we want to see too many go balls tonight. Not against this Philadelphia defense. Both one-on-one matchups, McLaurin, any one-on-ones, but I just don't trust Taylor. I think this Philadelphia defense is just going to be they're just too opportunistic. I think a lot of we need to look for, and I think the underneath stuff. Dotson, if you look at Penn State, he hasn't had an opportunity. A lot of his damage at Penn State was done underneath in yards after catch. So I think Samuel McClure. I agree. I didn't even get to talk about Gibson. Wole knows I've been scouting that guy forever since he was. Been saying forever he's got the body of a running back, but this goes a receiver. So I think you utilize him. Former third rounder. Odds are he might not be long term. I think that's focus on getting in the passing game tonight because I think Philadelphia, although their rookies are good, I think that they'll have a tough time with him.
I agree. Thank you, George, for the question in the chat. I appreciate that, bro. And I definitely agree. Like, I think the one scary thing about Taylor Heineke is that he throws those 50-50 balls up in the air. And as Wally alluded to, you can't do that with Darius Slay and James Bradbury out there. You can't. So gotta be careful with that. Adam, before we move on to our final question, how do you feel about Payne and Sweat?
Yeah, I be hard to keep both of them, but I think that's why you make the decision, with Wentz. I think to this point, I think it's there's no way he should be back, not under that kind of money. And I think as if he doesn't retire, the way anytime he took off when he had to scramble for yards, that showed he might have a good arm, but this offense, that's not what this offense is. This offense, even with a good line, more of a mobile quarterback, just creating yards, after the pressure. So I think hard to sign both of those guys, but if Sweat kind of level off where he's playing right, I think he'll have a tough time getting John Allen money. I think it'll be less and, maybe bold home team discount. I hate that crap because I don't think that's really going on.
I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah.
Whatever way you got to do it. Exactly. If you lose one or the other, your team is taking, a big step back to the first round, like you're talking about the 49ers, and replace him with a Kinlaw or something like this, you've just got too many holes. I thought no matter what, you need to be drafting back every year. It doesn't always have to class. There's a couple of guys, second, third round, we see a lot of running backs. A lot of the guys, for Washington haven't really panned out. There's a lot of second round quarterbacks, I think, that'll be in this class that they should be. You talk about where your money is going to be allocated to. If you've got Howell, a rookie, get a veteran anywhere between 6 to 8 million. But I don't think you don't bring back Heineke unless, like I said, 5 games. Even that, is he worth $10 to $15 million in Washington? So I think you have to just go in enough. But I think that getting those two back here is paramount because Chase Young, he's returning next year. He's gonna, even if he's returned, but he's gonna look average. But I think next year is when you can really evaluate him.
Yes, agreed.
Some of the depth guys got a lot of shit for what he did. That's a guy I really like. I think that he's not as good as IMB. That strength in the middle where they pushing the pocket because Settle. We saw what he did on that with Buffalo. I think these guys can be, but guys like Payne, I don't think you can go into the draft and find those in the second, third round this year. I've looked at a lot of guys.
He's peaking right now too. He's at 25, 26. This is where he's the best part of his career is coming up right now. And the fact that you have to be elite at something, right? So having him there, having Phil Mathis coming off the bench next year, having Chase Young return, we have a true identity. I truly want to run that back. And just for the record, with Chase Young, from what I understand, this offseason, they have to. It's the question basically whether he should be offered a 5th-year extension will be this summer. And I think it's no doubt the team's going to do that as well. So we're going to have that. We're going to have 2 more years of Chase Young. So we're going to see how that goes, and we'll kind of see how that whole finances break down as well. Well, we're going to say something. I kind of interrupted you. I'm sorry, bro.
No. I think Chase is going to. I mean, to me, and this is a very important thing that Chase shouldn't. And you talk about Chase Young. I'm glad you were talking about it. Is it that I actually don't think he should come back this season anyway. If anybody watched the vids, he doesn't have any explosion. It doesn't look like he has explosion. It's still gimpy, a little gimpy, but I just feel like, and we all have seen it, the second year of your, ACL is where you have your explosion. And I think let's wait it out. What are you playing for? The other guys have been playing well. Lobato has been great. Smith Williams has been good. You got guys who've really been balling for you. So where is the obsession of just having Chase just to have Chase? Because like Adam said, you're not going to have the same Chase. You know what I mean? You're not going to have that Chase Young this year. You know what I mean? We get fixated on the player, but you got to know they're still coming. They're battling, and he blew out his knee. Like he blew out his knee.
He blew out his knee and had surgery on his other knee to kind of he pulled a muscle from one to the other.
So you're not gonna get that Chase Young that you saw his rookie year. You're not gonna get that guy. Regardless, you're not gonna get the guy you saw last season who people were hating on anyway. You're not gonna get that guy. You're gonna get something less than that. So why worry about it? Like sit him out, let him play next season, and they'll get the truest form of Chase Young that you're going to get from this point on. So I'm a believer in Chase Young. I'm a Michigan fan, so say I'm a believer in Ohio State, dude. I'm a believer in Chase Young. You know what I mean? Like I think he has all the skill sets to be explosive. And if you go into a season having Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, and a healthy Chase Young, I think it's a dominant 4. Seeing what the leaps and the leap of play that Deron Payne has had. I think Montez gets better. We don't see it in the sack total, but
I actually love Montez.
He's
Sweat.
wrecking it. I love Montez, bro. Yeah. I love him a lot. He's wrecking it, man. He's wrecking it. I know a lot of people want to see the sack numbers. I get it, but when you see fear of opponents, he gets the double teams. He's beating double teams. Like
I was going to say that,
dude.
They're shading his way because Chase Young is gone. He's still top 5, top 10 in pressure in the league anyway, like 30% or something ridiculous.
And I've said this before.
He's a good run stopper too.
He is. And I said this before. Even the year that Chase was, rookie of the year, like I thought Montez was the better end. I just did.
I agree. I actually agree with you on that.
I think Montez was the better end. And so when we talk about letting people go, I think it's essential to keep them all, man, because I just think that you have an opportunity to be a dominant player, the dominant defense, especially with the emergence of Holcomb and Jamin Davis. You got an opportunity, man. Like if you cultivate this correctly, you have an opportunity to do something special within that side of football. And like Adam mentioned about Del Rio not being like, and that could be fair, that could be true. But I'm saying in terms of talent, it's there. It's there for the taking. So I do agree with Adam at that point. Like, I do think this talent is good enough to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. So I think that, to me, the best route, get a rookie quarterback. Like, Adam, if you got to draft a rookie quarterback every year you got to. I don't care. Like, this unit could be something
I agree with
special.
Adam too. I was actually thinking about this like separately. You got to draft a running back every single year anyway. Like, we have to draft running back almost every year, at least on draft a free agent. But at the very least, like Antonio Gibson, I love the guy, but I don't see a long-term perspective with him either. I love him. I don't think we're going to re-sign him to a longer contract or anything like that.
I see
so
that.
You have to draft someone next year to kind of have him in the pipeline to keep it going, keep it moving, especially someone that's like kind of versatile that way. I agree with that there. All right, so let's bring it on home, fellas. So we have a big game tonight in about 2 hours. Let's take a look. So, let's start off with you, man. How you feeling about it? Confidence level going in the game? What does Washington? Just give me a little summary about how you feeling right now. Is Washington going to win? What's going on?
I feel like it's a good feeling. I'm gonna see my man Sam Howell play tonight. So I got this vibe. I'm gonna see Sam Howell. I don't know how. It could be a blowout. You know what I mean? I just feel like, to me, I'm a person that believes in trends. So I'm a real believer in trends. We all want the coordinator to say, you know what, let's limit Taylor Heineke's mistakes and this, that, and the other. We all want Taylor Heineke to throw for like 250, right? That's what we want. But this defense doesn't match up well. Like, this offense doesn't match up well against the defense in this aspect to me. You got a guy that likes to throw the ball and like say, you know what, Terry, make a play, or whoever, make a play. But you just said you got two of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. You can't throw those type of passes against those guys. So what tells me is like, all right, in every game we've seen, he's thrown it up. It's not like he's played conservative. I had somebody tell me like all Taylor Heineke has to do is like, don't make the dumb mistake. He's made dumb mistakes throughout this whole, even the winning streak. He has made dumb decisions, and he just hasn't been punished for it. The Green Bay Packers game, he was making dumb decision after dumb decision after dumb decision in the first half. Just wasn't punished for it.
I think Scott Turner's scared to use him until I think he's very conservative because he's afraid Taylor Heinicke is going to turn the ball over. I'm starting to see that.
I agree with that. So I think, to me, like, I don't think this game is close because of that. Like, I think the defense is going to play well. I do think they're going to play well, but you can't play well when your quarterback puts you in bad situations. Or if you're on the field too long. Like, there's so many different elements to hurt this defense. Turn the football over, being on the field all the time because of 3 and outs. Like, eventually an offense like the Eagles are going to wear you down because, like we mentioned, they like to run the football. If a team runs the football a lot, they're going to wear you down. So to me, like, I don't think this game is going to be super close. I think if Taylor Heineke turns the football over a few times in the first half, you're going to see, I think you have a good opportunity to see Sam Howell. I know fans don't like to hear it, but I'll say it. I think that you can see Sam Howell.
That'll be interesting to see. And I think Adam kind of piqued my interest, like potentially Heineke being hurt and having Howell come out from
that. That'd be kind of
interesting too. I think the formula for the Washington win tonight is something very similar to the Green Bay Packer game, right? They have to play keep away. They have to keep the Aaron Rodgers, keep Jalen Hurts off the field. They have to utilize Antonio Gibson in the passing game to just generate third down conversions and just move down the field and kind of keep them off. I think that's the way to do it. That also has that trickle down effect, Wole, as you're mentioning. Basically, that gives Washington more time on the sideline to kind of scout the Eagles' offense, kind of counteract the play calling as well. So I just keep them there and keep them well rested. So that's what I'm thinking. But Adam, what do you got, bro?
Clock management is a big one. I think it falls in games that always that's going to be a big one. But time of possession, I think Wole was saying that. That's the thing. Turner's not going to change his whole style. I don't even see him going 50. So those passing plays, we're talking about, check percentage, screens, things that are, comparable to running the ball. Cause I think that's all we can hope for that to happen. Hassan Reddick, he's one of the best right now. He's so underrated, all the underneath stuff. So I think you just got to keep it moving. And if you can keep it moving, like I say, tempo gives this team the best advantage. They asked Taylor Heineke. It was a great question. I don't know what reporter asked, using the 2-minute offense more often. And he countered with, well, you can't do that all the time. Why not? Really generating, what you need to. Especially right now, we have Tyler Larson and others. So we saw what happened with Nick Martin last time for him, So that's a big concern for me is the thing that's not, up tempo, 1-2 throw. They're going to be in trouble. Him to read the field. I think you got to cut down the field for him to me. That's the number one thing you got to do tonight, because they're not going to get that time. And then, of course, running the ball. But I just don't have confidence that he's going to works a little bit. You'll see, even if you see a big run, he'll go passes 2 out of the next 3 times. So it's utilizing that underneath passing game. And again, I think I said 26-17 equal them to, some field goals, the first couple possessions. But I think eventually it's just going to be too much for the defense. Get a rest. They need to not be on the field so much. This will be a really big test for the defense, because I think if they do the game despite the offense not playing well, and we could see, a 23, it's got to be more on the defense.
It's going to be interesting too, because Washington. Let me say one thing. Can I say one thing real quick, Wally, and then I'll jump in?
Sure.
I was just say it's going to be really interesting, because basically we saw Washington play this almost, I think, say it's the worst half of the season, right? The beginning of the first half of the Eagles game. And it was because we didn't have Chase Roullier as our center. If you guys remember, Carson Wentz was sacked 9 times that game. We couldn't, that was the game where we had the slow snaps and the bad velocity on the snaps, and it was just chaos altogether. So I think just from that baseline, I think our offense will be more efficient, will be more competitive. So I do think our defense our defense has been playing better as well. So I think it's going to be more of a competitive game. I'm interested to see how it goes. And I'm sorry, Wally, go ahead. What are you going to say, bro?
No, you're definitely right. I was going to ask Adam a question, because I think I remember watching, I think this was the Eagles-Cowboys game, and they were doing RPO, and they were forcing Micah Parsons to choose. Like, they were running at Micah Parsons. Like, they were forcing. So you mentioned Reddick, and I was like, wouldn't it be a good idea to do that with Taylor Heinicke, forcing him to make a decision, to either go for the quarterback or go for the back?
More with Hassan Reddick than Parsons, because again, Parsons is more of a specimen. The Hassan people are surprised when they see how small he is. He's not really that big for an outside rusher, but him, and you give him the option to just attack. I think what he just tries to do constantly is scheme his players open, and I think he's just stuck on where back is. He's just going to continue to do that, and again, it just has to be. Hopefully we get some big plays underneath. But again, I think that he doesn't. When I'm starting to realize, even just us talking tonight, that I don't think he runs because I think he's scared. I don't think he trusts him to hold on to the ball. I don't think he makes the right decision. Eyes and stature and says, he gets hit, we're going to go to the rookie. And I think he's definitely scared of that, because those guys that has such high upside. I think Turner might have issues knowing exactly he can run the ball, but he only did that out of necessity his last year. This guy's got a cannon. And I think a lot of like Logan Paulson, they're just saying he's not ready yet. And I understand, but I think that if he was able to get in, I think that Philadelphia would not have enough tape on him. And I think if there'd be any advantage, it would be tonight if he came in, for an inch. I think that would be a bad idea for Hal. But I think if it's really going badly, even though this is a 3-touchdown lead, I would go to Hal in the second half, because I think he'll bring
that. Just get us some game experience. Yeah,
right.
I agree. I like that. That's a good strategy. Cool. All right, so while you're bringing on, give me your score prediction. We can start wrapping it up real quick. So what are you thinking?
I got
26-17 to Adams. What do you got?
I got 31-10 Philadelphia.
Okay. And why is that? Just the offense is too much?
I just think you got to be – they're just a better team right now. I know you. I could be a fan and say, perfect score,
Anything's
2017, anything's possible. Kevin Garnett, you know what I mean? But I'm thinking 31-10, just because I have to go off patterns. I got to be fair to the listeners and the viewers. I got to go. What from the patterns we've seen, like they like to throw the football. You did the percentage breakdown.
Yeah,
that won't beat this team the way that secondary works and the way this team passes the football. So yeah, it would be 31-10, and I think the defense was going to hold. I agree with everybody. Defense is going to put in some work, but the score won't be indicative of how good the defense plays. Put it that way. That I agree.
I agree. I think I put 27-13 in my weekly prediction. I think for the Eagles, the Eagles are going to win. It's all going to come down to turnovers. Like, if we get the ball and we score a defensive touchdown, that's going to change the momentum of the entire game, right?
I agree.
But if I'm being real, I always try to be objective. I'm not a rah-rah kind of guy.
Exactly.
I kind of see Taylor Heinicke having a turnover too, some critical turnovers, maybe even a sack, fumble, or interception for a touchdown. And I think that's going to be the breaking point. I think the defense is going to hang tough, but the offense is going to punt the ball so many times. The Eagles are going to have so many opportunities to score, and they're eventually going to put it in the basket. They're going to score and score touchdowns. So that's what I'm seeing there. All right, fellas, that's wonderful. I had a great time talking to you all. Let's bring it on home. Wale, where can they find you on your social media and all your projects? What are you working on right now?
All right, man. Yeah, we moved our Urban Sports Team podcast to Wednesday nights. I need the ball on Tuesday, so that's why I did it. But yeah,
Good for you.
You can follow me on Twitter at Wole, that's WOLE_USS, Urban Sports Scene. You can follow us at Urban Sports Scene, and we have a Commanders podcast that's on Twitter. You can follow us at ABG _everything. The podcast is called All Burgundy and Gold Everything. So you can subscribe to all the little podcast platforms. Anyway, we're there. We're everywhere.
Adam, what about you, bro?
As always, find me at the Burgundy and Gold, or follow me on Twitter at the B&G Report. On Twitter, you can find my link tree with all my songs. Again, we're approaching December, and this is usually the time of year, no matter how I is doing, I'm going to drop. Got a bunch of guys coming out, small school, HBCU, Power 5 that I watched it. So stay tuned for that. The Burgundy and Gold Report.com. Got my little YouTube show, the Burgundy channel on YouTube. So check us out.
And guys, there's a reason why both of these fellows are on my show right now. There's much respect to both of them. I love these guys. Very intelligent, very objective. They're on top of everything. Adam already dipped. Good for Adam. He's out of here. It's all good. But anyways, the good people right there. He's back. Okay. So it's good. I definitely respect both of their opinions. So I definitely enjoy that there. You guys can find me at GCarmi21 on Twitter. At FBC_Commanders. I'm host of the Full Press Commanders podcast. I write for fullpresscoverage.com. It was a great talking to you all. Have a great day. Let's go Commanders. Let's get it on. Peace.